This matchup conversation has to start with one thing, and that's Trent Williams being on the practice field, because that alone shifts how you even think about this game. Coming into today, the expectation nationally was that Trent Williams probably wasn't going to play. You had respected insiders saying it was unlikely, and then suddenly there he is, practicing. Now, you can watch the clips yourself and decide whether he looked limited or not, but the fact that he was out there at all is a massive development. Trent Williams doesn't do anything halfway, especially at this stage of his career. If he's practicing, it's because he believes there's a real chance he can suit up, and that matters more than any optimistic headline or pessimistic report. When people talk about the 49ers offense, the conversation usually starts with Brock Purdy or Christian McCaffrey. And I get it. The quarterback touches the ball every play, and McCaffrey is the engine of everything. But if we're being honest, Trent Williams might be the most valuable offensive player on this team. The numbers back it up. With Trent Williams on the field, the 49ers win at a completely different rate than when he's not. Without him, this offense looks fragile, predictable, and far easier to disrupt. You saw that against Seattle. The protection broke down, the run game stalled, and suddenly everything Kyle Shanahan wants to do becomes 10 times harder. Trent doesn't just block his assignment, he elevates everyone next to him. Guards play with more confidence. The center doesn't have to overhelp. The offense can run its full menu instead of trimming it down just to survive. That's why this practice appearance is such a big deal, especially against a defensive line like Philadelphia's. The Eagles already have a trench advantage on paper, and without Trent Williams, that gap gets uncomfortable fast. With him, at least, you give yourself a fighting chance to function. Now, there's no ignoring the risk here. He's 37 years old, and this is a hamstring injury. That's not a minor detail for a player whose game is built on explosion, leverage, and movement in space. But again, Trent Williams knows his body better than anyone. If he's out there, it's not for show. The question isn't whether he's 100%. The question is whether his presence alone can stabilize the offense enough to keep this game competitive. So I want to hear from you. Do you think Trent Williams actually plays in this game, yes or no? And bigger picture, do you believe he's the true offensive MVP of this team? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this entire matchup conversation changes depending on that answer. And if you want daily, honest 49ers coverage without the fluff, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on. We're pushing toward 1,000 subscribers, and every single one of you genuinely helps this channel grow. Coming up next, we need to talk about something 49ers fans are tired of hearing about but can't ignore anymore, and that's injuries, and why the Eagles always seem to be healthier when it matters most. If you've been a 49ers fan for any length of time, this next part probably feels way too familiar, but it's impossible to talk about this game without addressing the injury contrast between these two teams. On one side, you've got San Francisco, once again limping into a massive matchup. On the other side, you've got Philadelphia, who somehow, year after year, arrive, at this point of the season, healthier than almost everyone else. At some point, it stops feeling like bad luck and starts feeling like a philosophical difference, and that's exactly where this conversation needs to go. Look at the Eagles' track record alone. When they made the Super Bowl a few years ago, nearly every opening day starter was still on the field in the biggest game of the season. When they got back again, it was almost the exact same story. That kind of consistency doesn't happen by accident. It's not just fortune smiling on them. It's an organizational commitment to player health, recovery, and how they manage their practices throughout the year. Meanwhile, the 49ers have been near the top of the league in injury rates almost every season under Kyle Shanahan. You can only chalk that up to randomness for so long. What makes this frustrating is that the two teams actually want to play a similar brand of football. Both pride themselves on being physical. Both want to win, in the trenches. Both believe in wearing opponents down. The difference is how they prepare for that. Philadelphia doesn't practice as physically during the week. They don't tackle to the ground. They keep sessions shorter, sharper, and more efficient. The goal isn't to win Wednesday or Thursday. It's to be standing strong when the playoffs arrive. And whether you like it or not, the results speak for themselves. San Francisco, on the other hand, has leaned into harder practices, more physical preparation, and unique strength and conditioning methods that are well known around the league. That approach may help build toughness, but it also comes with consequences. When you hear former trainers and people around the NFL quietly acknowledge that the 49ers do things differently, it raises real questions, especially when those questions come up every single year at the same time, right when the games matter most. This doesn't mean the 49ers can't win. They've had plenty of success despite these issues, which honestly makes it more impressive. But it does force you to ask a tough question. What could this team be if it were just a little bit healthier in January? How many seasons have ended with that same what-if feeling? And when you're facing a team like the Eagles, who are built to peak late, those margins feel even thinner. So let me know what you think. Do you believe the 49ers' injury problems are mostly bad luck? Or do you think there's something systemic that needs to change? If you had the power, would you adjust the practice style or keep doing what's been done? Drop your take in the comments, and if this is a conversation you're tired of having every year, go ahead and hit like on the video. It helps more than you think. Coming up next, we're shifting from the training room to the field, because this game is going to be decided where it always is in playoff football. And that's in the trenches. When you strip everything else away, this game is going to come down to the trenches, and that's where the conversation gets uncomfortable if you're a 49ers fan. Philadelphia has a clear edge up front on both sides of the ball, and in playoff football, that matters more than star power at the skill positions. You can draw up the perfect game plan, but if you're losing at the point of attack, none of it matters. And we just saw how fragile this 49ers offense can look when protection breaks down. The Seattle game was a warning sign. Without Trent Williams, the offensive line couldn't hold up against an aggressive upper-tier defense. The run game went nowhere. Brock Purdy was under constant pressure, and Kyle Shanahan was forced into survival mode. Moving the pocket, shortening drops, calling plays just to get rid of the ball. That's not how this offense is built to function. Now you're walking into Philadelphia against a defensive line that might be even deeper and more relentless than Seattle's, especially with the way they've added pass rush depth and gotten healthier at the right time. If Trent Williams plays, it doesn't suddenly make this a strength, but it gives the offense a foundation. It allows the 49ers to at least attempt to run their full offense instead of trimming it down to a handful of safe calls. Without him, you're asking backups to win consistently against a rotation of fresh, talented pass rushers, and that's a recipe we've already seen fail. The Eagles can rotate bodies, keep guys fresh, and attack from every angle. Over 4 quarters, that wears on you physically and mentally. This also shows up on the other side of the ball. The 49ers' defensive line has been depleted, and while the effort is there, the depth just isn't. Philadelphia's offensive line is experienced, physical, and disciplined. They don't panic. They don't make many mistakes. And when you're trying to defend a quarterback who can extend plays and a run game that's happy to lean on you, that imbalance starts to show. This is why people say games like this are won before the ball is even snapped. Now, that doesn't mean the 49ers have no chance. It means they can't afford to lose this battle badly. They don't need to dominate the trenches, but they have to survive them. They need just enough push in the run game, just enough protection for Brock Purdy to operate, and just enough resistance defensively to avoid being leaned on all night. That's a narrow margin, but it's a real one. I'm curious where you land on this. What worries you more going into this game, pass protection or run blocking? And do you think the 49ers can win if they don't at least break even up front? Let me know in the comments. If you appreciate these deeper breakdowns instead of surface-level takes, make sure you're subscribed and give the video a like. Coming up next, we're getting into the chess match that could decide everything: Kyle Shanahan versus Vic Fangio, and why history isn't exactly on the 49ers' side. This next layer of the matchup is where things get really fascinating, because now you're talking about one of the best offensive minds in football going up against one of the most respected defensive architects the league has ever seen. Kyle Shanahan versus Vic Fangio isn't just a matchup of playbooks. It's a battle of patience, preparation, and who can stay disciplined when things aren't going perfectly. And if you're being honest, the history here hasn't been kind to Shanahan. In the games where Shanahan's offense has faced Fangio-led defenses, the production has been shockingly low. We're not talking about one bad outing. We're talking about a pattern where points are hard to come by and every yard feels contested. Fangio's defenses have a way of taking away what you want to do most, without selling out to do it. He doesn't rely on constant blitzing or reckless pressure. Instead, he disguises coverages, forces quarterbacks to hold the ball a split second longer, and dares you to stay patient. That's where frustration creeps in, and that's where mistakes happen. What makes this timing even more concerning is what Fangio just got to watch on film. Seattle put together a defensive game plan that completely disrupted the rhythm of this 49ers offense. Pressure without overcommitting, tight windows, confusion pre-snap. Fangio is one of the best in the league at studying that kind of tape and adapting it to his own system. He's not going to copy it directly, but he's absolutely going to borrow concepts that worked, especially against an offensive line that showed real cracks. The challenge for Brock Purdy in this game is going to be mental as much as physical. Fangio will show him one look and give him another. He'll mix man and zone, tease pressure, and occasionally bring it just to keep you guessing. If the run game isn't working, Fangio becomes even harder to deal with, because he can sit in those split safety looks and force the offense to earn every single first down. That's not a recipe for explosive plays, and it's why Shanahan has struggled in these matchups historically. None of this means Shanahan can't adjust. He's too good of a coach for that. But it does mean he has to stay patient and resist the urge to force things early. This is the kind of game where a couple of empty drives can't turn into panic. The offense has to accept that points may come slowly and that field position and ball security matter more than usual. So let me ask you this. Do you think Vic Fangio truly has Kyle Shanahan's number, or do you think this is finally the game where that narrative flips? Drop your answer in the comments, and if you enjoy these coaching and scheme breakdowns, make sure you're subscribed and hit like on the video. Up next, we're pulling everything together and laying out the real path for the 49ers to pull off an upset, and what this game ultimately means no matter how it ends. When you put all of this together, the injuries, the trenches, the coaching, matchup, the margin for error becomes crystal clear. For the 49ers to win this game, everything has to be intentional. There's no room for sloppiness, no room for chasing big plays that aren't there. This is one of those games where winning ugly might be the only way to win at all. The first key is controlling tempo. The 49ers can't get into a track meet, and they can't fall behind early. Long, methodical drives matter, even if they only end in field goals. Keeping the Eagles' offense on the sideline shortens the game and reduces the number of times the 49ers have to survive those trench battles. That means leaning on the run game even if it's not explosive, and trusting the defense to hold up long enough for adjustments to kick in. Defensively, discipline is everything. Philadelphia thrives when defenses lose patience. Missed assignments, over-pursuit, biting on play action. The 49ers have to tackle cleanly, set the edge, and force Philadelphia to earn every yard. Explosive plays are what break games like this open. And if San Francisco can limit those, the pressure starts to shift. Suddenly, the game becomes about execution instead of talent advantages. Offensively, Brock Purdy has to play his cleanest game. That doesn't mean hero ball. It means taking what's there, protecting the football, and living to play the next snap. If he can stay on schedule and avoid the one or two mistakes that Fangio's defenses usually bait you into, the 49ers give themselves a chance deep into the fourth quarter. That's where anything can happen. No matter how this game ends, it's also a measuring stick. It tells you where this team truly stands, what's working, and what still needs to change if the 49ers want to get back to the top of the league. Wins and losses matter, but so do the lessons that come with them, especially against a team built the way Philadelphia is built. I want to hear from you before you go. Do you believe the 49ers can actually pull this off? Or is this matchup just too steep this year? Yes or no, let me know in the comments. If you've made it this far, you're exactly the type of fan this channel is for. So make sure you're subscribed and help us push toward that 1,000 subscriber goal. Hit like if you found value in this breakdown, and I'll see you in the next one.